Everyone thinks champions are born different, that greatness is a gift, something in their DNA that the rest of us just don't have. But here's the truth. It's not talent that separates the great from the average, it's discipline. Talent might open the door, but discipline walks through it. Every champion you admire, from Michael Jordan to Serena Williams, wasn't just born with skill. They were built through repetition, consistency, and a relentless refusal to quit when it stopped being fun. The world loves to celebrate natural ability. We glorify the gifted, the genius, the born prodigy. But that's not what creates legends. What people don't see are the lonely hours of practice, the missed parties, the mornings when motivation was gone, and they showed up anyway. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people aren't held back by a lack of talent. They're held back by a lack of persistence. The moment things get hard, they stop. They convince themselves, maybe I'm just not built for this. But champions, they keep going. Discipline is the trait that turns potential into performance. It's the quiet force that says, I don't care how I feel, I'm doing it anyway. And that mindset is what separates those who dream from those who achieve. So if you've ever looked at someone successful and thought, they're just naturally better, you've already missed the point. The question isn't whether you were born with talent. The question is, can you stay consistent when motivation disappears? Because talent might make you good, but discipline makes you unstoppable. In this video, we're breaking down the one trait every champion shares, how they think, how they train, and how you can build that same mindset in your own life. From the outside, talent looks like magic. You see someone play an instrument flawlessly, move like an athlete, or dominate in business, and your first thought is, they were born for this. That's the myth. We love the idea of natural talent because it gives us an excuse. If success is genetic, then it's not our fault we're not great. We can tell ourselves, they just got lucky. But here's the truth. Talent is overrated. It's not what makes champions. It's what starts them. Talent is the spark, not the way. It gets you going, but it can't keep you burning when things get hard. That's why so many naturally gifted people fade away the moment life stops being easy. Meanwhile, the disciplined ones, the ones who put in the work, who grind through boredom, who stay when everyone else quits, they rise to the top. Every champion starts with some potential, sure, but potential is nothing without persistence. Think about it. The world is full of could-have-been stories, athletes with talent but no consistency, musicians with skill but no discipline, entrepreneurs with vision but no patience. Talent gave them an edge. Lack of discipline took it away. And here's something few people understand. Talent can actually become a trap. When you're used to things coming easily, you don't develop the habits to handle struggle. So when failure finally hits, and it always does, you fall apart. Discipline is what keeps you standing when talent stops working. The greatest performers in history weren't always the most talented. They were the ones who refused to rely on talent alone. They built systems, routines, and mental strength that worked even when their emotions didn't. So stop waiting for talent to save you. It won't. What separates the champions from everyone else isn't how naturally good they are. It's how long they can keep going after the excitement fades. Discipline is the quiet force behind every great achievement. It doesn't shout, it doesn't brag, it just shows up. When motivation fades, when excitement dies, when everything in you wants to stop, discipline is what keeps you moving. Here's the truth. Motivation gets you started, but discipline keeps you going. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is structural. It's the difference between chasing a feeling and following a system. Champions understand this better than anyone. They don't train only when they feel good. They train because it's who they are. When everyone else says, I'll do it tomorrow, they're already working today. Discipline is not glamorous, but it's the reason the best stay on top long after their talent should have peaked. Think about what discipline actually does. It builds consistency, and consistency builds results. Every workout, every repetition, every extra hour compounds into something massive. It's like interest on an investment. The more consistent you are, the greater the payoff becomes over time. Discipline also builds identity. Every time you follow through on a commitment, you prove something powerful to yourself. I can rely on me. That's confidence built from action, not words. And here's the paradox: the more disciplined you become, the more freedom you gain. When you have discipline, you control your habits, you control your emotions, you control your path. Most people think discipline is restriction, but in reality, it's liberation. The ability to say no to distractions gives you the freedom to say yes to your potential. That's why every champion, in every field, has one thing in common. They've mastered the art of doing what others won't. They show up tired, they show up unmotivated, they show up on bad days. And that's what makes the difference. Because talent might give you a head start, but discipline guarantees you finish. Every champion has one thing in common: they win the battle in their mind long before they win in the arena. The mental edge, that invisible force that separates the elite from the average, comes down to one thing: control. Control over emotion, control over focus, control over self. While most people crumble under pressure, champions stay calm. They've trained their minds to see chaos as opportunity. When others panic, they lock in. That's not luck. That's mental conditioning. Here's the thing. Anyone can perform when things are easy, but pressure reveals your habits. When fatigue hits, when failure stings, when distractions scream for your attention, the average person breaks. The champion adapts. They understand that pain, boredom, and struggle are not signals to stop. They're signals to grow. Champions don't run from discomfort. They use it as training. Every hard moment becomes a mental rep, strengthening their resilience for the next challenge. That's why discipline and mindset are connected. You can't have one without the other. Discipline builds mental endurance, the ability to keep going when your brain begs you to quit. It's the grind threshold, how long you can push before giving in. The higher your threshold, the greater your success. Champions live in that space, the space where others give up. When it's 5 a.m. and everyone's sleeping, they're training. When it's their 100th repetition and their body's screaming, they're locked in. When they fail, they don't spiral. They reset and go again. That's the mental edge. The understanding that struggle is not the enemy, comfort is. And that's why talent alone can never compete with someone who's mentally unbreakable. Because when things get hard, and they always do, the talented often stop. But the disciplined, they keep going until they win. Let's make this real, because the difference between talent and discipline isn't theory. It's written all over the stories of the world's greatest performers. Take Michael Jordan. He was cut from his high school basketball team. Most people would have quit, told themselves they just weren't good enough. But Jordan used that failure as fuel. He showed up every day before practice, stayed long after everyone else left, and turned rejection into obsession. Years later, he wasn't remembered as the most naturally gifted. He was remembered as the most relentless. Then there's Kobe Bryant. Teammates said Kobe was in the gym at 4 a.m. shooting hundreds of shots before most people even woke up. He called it the Mamba mentality, a philosophy built on discipline, not emotion. His greatness wasn't luck. It was built through thousands of boring, lonely hours of consistent effort. Or look at J.K. Rowling. Before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon, she faced a mountain of rejection letters. 12 publishers said no. She kept writing anyway. She didn't rely on belief. She relied on discipline, the discipline to keep going when no one believed in her. And then there's Steve Jobs, fired from his own company. Most would have given up in humiliation, but that setback became the foundation for his comeback. He said later, "Getting fired from Apple was the best thing that ever happened to me." That's the power of a disciplined mind, turning failure into fuel. You see the same story everywhere. Cristiano Ronaldo, Serena Williams, Tom Brady, not the most naturally gifted, but the most consistent. They mastered the one thing others fear: repetition. Because here's the truth: talent looks amazing when everything goes right. But discipline shines when everything goes wrong. The champions of this world aren't superhuman. They just made a decision to keep showing up when others stop. That's what builds greatness, not genetics, not luck, but relentless consistency, day after day, year after year. So how do you build the one trait every champion shares? The discipline to keep going when others stop. It's not magic, it's repetition, it's daily practice. It's building habits that make quitting harder than continuing. Let's break it down. 1. Create daily non-negotiables. Champions don't rely on feelings, they rely on standards. Decide what you do every single day, no matter what. Whether it's training, reading, writing, or working on your craft, make it non-negotiable. You don't negotiate with your goals, you execute them. 2. Embrace boredom. Discipline lives in boredom. The average person quits when things stop being exciting. Champions know that mastery hides inside repetition, the unglamorous, unnoticed grind. If you can fall in love with boredom, you'll outlast everyone chasing motivation. 3. Focus on small wins. Don't chase perfection, chase consistency. Stack small wins every day, a single workout, a few extra minutes of focus, a healthier choice. Each win reinforces your identity. I'm the type of person who follows through. 4. Reframe. Struggle as training. When things get hard, don't say, "This is too much." Say, "This is where I get stronger." Discomfort isn't punishment, it's growth in disguise. Every rep, every late night, every challenge builds mental armor for the next test. 5. Build identity, not just habits. True discipline comes when you no longer try to be consistent. It's simply who you are. Tell yourself, "I'm the kind of person who doesn't quit. I'm the kind of person who finishes." Once your identity aligns with your actions, effort becomes automatic. Remember, champions aren't motivated all the time. They just don't need to be. Their systems do the work for them. Discipline is built, not gifted. And when you master it, you stop chasing results and start attracting them, because you've become the type of person success can trust. At the end of the day, talent may catch attention, but discipline builds empires. The people you admire, the champions you respect, they weren't chosen. They chose themselves, not once, not twice, but every single day when no one was watching. Because success doesn't come from one big moment. It comes from thousands of small, disciplined choices stacked on top of each other, when it's hard, when it's boring, when it doesn't feel like it's working. Talent gets headlines, but discipline builds legacies. And here's the truth most people never realize. The trait that separates the best from the rest isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. You can train it. You can grow it. You can become it. So the next time your mind whispers, "I don't feel like it," remember this. That's the exact moment champions are made. Not when it's easy, not when it's exciting, but when it's uncomfortable and you do it anyway. That's the real secret. Not talent, not luck, not opportunity, discipline. The ability to show up again and again no matter what. Because when you master discipline, you stop being controlled by your moods, your fears, or your excuses, and you finally take control of your life. So ask yourself, do you want to be remembered as talented or as unstoppable? If you're ready to build the mindset of a champion, to train discipline, resilience, and unbreakable focus, subscribe to Unbreakable Mind right now, because talent fades, motivation fades, but the disciplined, they endure.